You're listening to the Ordinary Joe's podcast with Joe D and Eric B.
All right, guys, we are back for another movie episode type podcast. And my bad for Joe. Joe threw out a text and we were supposed to talk about the best and worst movie sequels. And for some dumb reason, I just read bad movie sequels. So when I put out the questions out there, I asked you guys for bad movie sequels, not best and worst. But you know what? It's probably better because this is going to be a good two-parter. So today we're going to start with the bad movie sequels. Get that out of the way. The next week we'll follow up with the good movie sequels. What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
All right.
Let's get the crappy ones out of the way.
Let's get this started. I am Eric B.
And I'm Joe D. And we are
the Ordinary Joes. All right. Just in case that didn't work out, I had this.
You're listening to the
Not that one. I had this going.
Ordinary Joes.
Oh, nice.
I think I should just
Ordinary Joes.
Just throw that in.
From now on. Do that from now on. Just
we are the
Ordinary Joes.
There you go.
Yeah. Nice.
All right, man. Go ahead and get this started because I have tons of bad movie sequels that I like to talk about. But if there's anything you want to bring up first,
well,
go for it.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many, but when I was thinking about this, the first one that just automatically always pops into my head is Dumb and Dumberer.
Oh, God.
the second installment of Dumb and Dumber.
Jesus.
Not the ones with the original guys, with those where they played teens or something.
Yeah. Totally
God, that's
agree.
So bad.
I mean, do you think they just came out with that movie because they didn't have anything else to do?
I think it was a combination of, the first one was such a hit, right?
Yeah.
It's a cult classic. I don't know that they even expected it to be that good. And so I think it's a little bit of like trying to capitalize on that again. And two, probably, just lack of creativity, nothing to come up with, like that kind of like.
Yeah, because at the time, Jim Carrey didn't really have anything else going on, right? So he was kind of like at the end of his comical career, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he had already started doing like some of the serious roles. Like he did that bad movie 23 and the one with the beautiful spotless mind or something like that. I don't know. It's a long title. Yeah. But I think at that point he was kind of doing something else.
Well, they came out with three. They came out with three different. So they came out with Dumb and Dumber, Dumb and Dumber 2, or was it Dumb and Dumber?
It was Dumb and Dumberer was the second one, and then Dumb and Dumber 2 TO, I believe, or
one of them had a baby. Was that the one where one of them had a baby?
Yeah.
Feel bad for I never seen any of them just because that kind of comedy is not the kind of comedy I like watching, and just trying to think of one of them maybe and having a baby was like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's the thing about it. I was at that age. I think I was the demographic for that movie when it came out.
Okay.
So I found it hilarious. But on top of that, it actually is like really like smart comedy disguised in a idiotic, movie type scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's actually better than you would expect just by listening to the title or looking at clips. But the second one was like, it was so bad. I mean, they try to, I guess it was like an origin story, or they tried to show how they became friends, and like just the plot wasn't there. I mean, you can't recreate Jim Carrey, one of his characters. It's just, impossible.
It's one of those movies where the first one was already a big hit, and you try to come out and let's do a prequel of how everybody met, and oh my God, yeah, totally agree with you on that one.
I should also say that I'm generally not a big fan of sequels to begin with.
Yeah.
So there's very few that I'm like, crazy about.
Well, next week when we talk about the positives, we could also talk about which sequel actually did better than the original, right? Because there's a lot of sequels that actually did way better than the originals. Man, I don't know. I don't even know which direction to go. Like I said, there's a lot of sequels that now we're going to talk about sequels, part 2s and 3s, right? We're just gonna go all out on all that. So I'm gonna go.
Yeah. Anything, I would say anything after the first of an installment,
Okay.
of movies.
All my
That's fair.
Star Wars fans, I'm going to tell you right now, I apologize. If you guys are going to watch on YouTube, I apologize, but I'm going to go with the whole 3 prequels of Star Wars.
Really?
Yeah, oh my God. Just
Wow.
the storyline was good. I mean, the storyline was good. The acting was terrible. You bring in a Hollywood actor like Hayden Christensen to play, Anakin Skywalker, and his Broadway talents just didn't sell me as, Anakin. And it's like, I don't know what George Lucas was thinking about when he came out with these prequels. It's like, okay, yeah, tell us the stories. And it's funny because even the first one, I forget which one the name, the first one, when they first met each other, the sci-fi, the graphics in that one was way better than any of the trilogies in the beginning.
The original, right.
So you're supposed to go back to the origin stories, but then here you have spaceships that are way better than the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah,
so it's like,
it's kind of hard to take yourself out of that.
Yeah.
The graphics and everything from the original, and then everything is like.
And then you got to remember too, the first 3 movies from Star Wars to Return of the Jedi, we were in one location pretty much the whole time, except to like Cloud City and all that, right? Now these prequels are bringing us to the city, and we're seeing flying. I mean, it was just, I couldn't sell myself to actually saying this was a good prequel. Now I have to go to all 3 prequels just because,
Yeah, I definitely feel you about the bad acting with Anakin. That was so I never saw them when they originally came out. I actually went back recently last year and binge watched every Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, yeah, he's terrible.
Yeah.
You're thinking of like when you think of Darth Vader.
Yeah.
I mean, and just that iconic bad guy character, the dark side. That's you need some acting chops if you're gonna have somebody play him, and especially how he becomes
Darth Vader.
Like, it was hard to watch. I agree.
And I think that's why they got him, because of his ability to act. He was, again, he's a stage actor. He was like highly recommended when it came to, playing Anakin Skywalker. But just the whole, I mean, especially like Revenge of the Sith, when he went from Anakin to Darth, and he was just whole angry attitude and his angry face.
Yeah,
I just kept like,
I didn't buy it. It wasn't believable.
I didn't buy it either. And it's one of those where it's like, thank God they decided to come out with 3 more, just because they were trying to save. I
haven't watched The Mandalorian yet. Have you? I've heard.
Yeah, you better get on it, because they're gonna start on season 2 starts on Halloween.
Oh, okay,
starts on
perfect.
Halloween.
So,
and the good thing about Mandalorian, it's a story of its own. I'm pretty sure they're gonna tie in some Star Wars, movies and stuff like that. But this is supposed to supposedly happen in between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens.
Okay.
Which is the newest trilogy that just came out.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I've never really been too big of a fan of Star Wars. I've always liked Star Trek a little more. I thought the writing, the stories were better. And like when you're talking about the original 3 episodes of Star Wars, I mean, it wasn't like the stories were all that in depth and great anyway. I think it was just for the time. Seeing that sort of like special effects and sci-fi was huge in those days. That was what all the kids and everybody was into. So I think it has more of a nostalgic kind of effect on people than it actually necessarily being like the greatest sci-fi movies.
I mean, we could even get to Star Trek. Did you like any of these Star Trek movies that was released? And on top of that, did you like any of the sequels? And we're talking about, William Shatner Star Trek.
Those Star Treks. Yeah. I was kind of young. I've seen them all because my dad was a big fan.
Yeah.
But I think it was still a little kind of over my head. The newer ones with Zachary Quinto and those guys, I love those. I think those are done really well. But the original cast from the series that did the first few movies, I just remember the sad part with like Spock dying.
That was
I just remember that being like, what? But other than that, I don't really know. How about you?
I mean, that's always going to be an argument between Star Wars and Star Trek. And, you know, you have your Trekkies and then you have your Star Wars fans. I'm more the sci-fi fan, so I like them both. You know, I can go either way, just because it's bringing you to someplace that we're not, right? You know, it's like you're watching Star Wars and it's from a different galaxy. And Star Trek supposedly started on Earth and made their way out, you know, to boldly go where no man has gone before. So it's kind of both. I kind of like both of them. But I just don't want to say like overkill. There's a lot of overkill when it comes to sequels, when it comes to, you know, putting certain movies out. And I think Star Trek, like towards the end, I forget the last one. Was it Star Trek 3?
Yeah.
When
they might have even done 4.
God, see, I don't remember. Like I said, overkill. There's just too many. Sequels should only be if you're continuing a story from, you know, part 1 of something, right? You know, like, you know, I'm going to talk about this next week, but I'll give you an example. Like Back to the Future, the only reason why they did 3 is because they had to explain everything in 3 different parts.
Yeah.
But if you're going to come out with a slasher movie just because it made so much money in the box office the first time, and then let's try to do this again. It's like sometimes you don't get that effect.
I touched on this on my last episode of the Man of Few Words podcast, but yeah, I think when you have an original story that stands on its own, you know, it flowed great plot. It wasn't left open ended. It was done.
Yeah.
Move on. Like
move on.
God, I hate when they're just when it's a reach. You know, like Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I talk about that. Like when you going into that, you know it's going to be 3 movies, so it has that kind of like flow. They all belong together. Or the other thing I hate is when they wait like 20 years after the original one.
Jesus
when
Christ.
All the actors are like super old now, and then
Top Gun. I can't wait to see what Top Gun is like when they release it. That's a description of 20 years of waiting for a sequel. You know, it's like movie's not out yet, so we don't even know what to say. But you know, they were trying to get Val Kilmer, who's like 300 pounds over his weight in Top Gun. I don't know.
That's there's another. You know, I'm a little nervous about Coming to America too.
Oh my God.
You know, that's another favorite of mine, another classic, and it's like, I don't know, but we'll see.
You know, when they came out with Bad Boys, this last one, did you ever watch the last one? The
Bad Boys for Life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen that one?
I'm not a fan of the series, but yeah, I did see it.
That one right there. I mean, spoiler alert if you guys haven't watched it yet. I mean, that was a movie that shouldn't have been made. I mean, the last one, what was it? The second one was kind of already closed book. We already kind of knew what they were going on. And this one, they come out with this one just to tell us that Will Smith, Mike Lowry, has a child from, you know, the Cuban. Was she Cuban?
I think so. Yeah.
Cuban, Puerto Rican, one of those two.
Cuban, yeah. Where does that even take place? That movie? Are they in Miami?
They're in Miami. Yeah, they're still in Miami.
Yeah, it's probably Cuban.
Okay, so yeah, Cuban, you know, drug lord's wife. I mean, again, it's one of those movies like, and what I hated about that movie is they left it open for another one.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Stop.
Let's kill. When Mike Lowry got shot in the movie, I was like, yes, end this movie already. But that's another movie where it's like, you did so much, just end it already.
Yeah, now you're just, you know, you're blatantly capitalizing off of it. Like,
yeah,
I'll take it back a little bit. Friday the 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan.
Now, is that the third one?
That's like the 10th one. That was I think it's actually number 10 or 11.
Is that 10? Okay.
I don't even remember. I was a kid. I was on a school trip and we went to, I forgot what movie was out, but it wasn't, you know, it was a kid movie. And me and a friend of mine snuck out to go see Friday the 13th.
You mean you cut school?
No, we ditched the rest of our group.
Oh, okay.
Because the counselors weren't paying attention.
Got it.
So we snuck into that. all excited. And even as a kid, because I think I was maybe like 10 or 11 years old, I was like, this is terrible. First of all, how did we missed the beginning? So I don't even know how he got to Manhattan. But I don't know if he took a train, if he caught a bus, Greyhound, what?
He took the B to the.
Yeah, he made his way downtown. Apparently, oh man, it was all over the place. Like when you have to take your characters that far out of a realm of where it's believable or someplace else, it's like, come on, think of something.
Think of something. And was it the very next one? Was it Jason versus Freddy?
That if it wasn't the next one, it was shortly after that.
I mean, like there was this running joke, and it was a running joke where Jason made his way to Manhattan because he was looking for Freddy. And, you know, it's like Freddy can't find him when Jason's in the woods in Camp Crystal Lake. So, you know, Jason jumped on a bus, got on the B train.
Let me head down to the city. I actually liked Freddy versus Jason. I think we had spoke about that on one of the episodes. We did. That one was a good one. The storyline, you know, it was a cool twist on how to use both of them together.
Yeah.
But I actually have. I had written down another one. I think it was the Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare. That was another just like bad
Final
one.
Nightmare. I don't even, like I said, dude. I don't even.
Yeah.
There's just so many.
It was one of those that was like it came out in the 90s when it was already people were kind of done with the series. Turns out Freddy kills all the kids in the town that he was from, and we find out Freddy has a daughter. It's always the kids. They always do the part 2 with a kid.
They have to.
That messes everything up. And he has a daughter, and he's using her, and then she tries to kill him, and then I think he even comes to life, and he's like killing the actual actors that play. It was like terrible, and it was just tons of cameos. I think Johnny Depp returned for that. Like.
Wait! How did he come back from the grave? Was it a dream? It had to be a dream sequence. It had to be a dream.
No,
sequence,
because
right?
they were in this one the actors were playing themselves, so they were like outside of the Freddy movie, and he hops out of Freddy movie to kill the actual. Like they just went left with it.
Went everywhere.
They just left it alone.
Oh my god! I mean, there's just so many. I mean, like you want to talk about like horror movies. I mean, we talked about. Last week we talked about Resident Evil, and you want to talk about like I said last week, there's so many Resident Evils I don't even remember which one is which anymore. So it's like I would think after the first one you would have been done with it and, you know, move on, but no, they decided to make more and more and more, and it's like, all right, what else do we have? What else do you guys have for us?
I always wonder, you know, there's so many people on a movie set. I feel like not everybody thinks it's good. Like there's got to be enough people on set that are like, God, this is terrible. Like at what point, like, can you just back out and say, hey, forget it. This sucks.
I quit. Yeah. I mean, we want to talk about bad movies, man. I mean, I'm going to go and talk about one of the Indiana Jones sequels. I mean, there's 2 that I don't like. I hated the second one, which was the Crystal Skull. That one was terrible. But the one they came out with, no, the Crystal Skull was the last one they came out with. That was with he had a son. I forget his.
Was that Shia LaBeouf?
Yeah, Shia LaBeouf. But the second one, I forget what the name of the second one was. What had something to do with a crystal. Well, it was a crystal something also. But the little Asian guy was in there. He was a dude from the Goonies, right? That movie was terrible just because you came from taking us to the Ark to showing us all these cool little special effects. You kind of almost made it religious for us, right?
Yeah.
So like this country, this Indian country where they had these kids as slaves. And I'm like, this is not an adventure, man. This is real life. This is actually what's going on in India, right?
Yeah.
You're exploiting little kids. But then after they came out with the Crystal Skull, Shia LaBeouf just ruined that movie for me. It was like, oh, why are you even on here?
Which is the one with Sean Connery? I think
that's the third one. That was the third one. Yeah. That was the third one.
Was that any good? I don't even remember.
You know what? It was good just because they kept. So in Raiders of the Lost Ark, it was against the Germans, right? They were doing the whole German thing. in the second one, which I forget what it was again, Indian, something about some Indian rocks or stones that they were looking for. But in
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
That's what it was. Yes. And in the third one, they went back to the Nazi regime and trying to, stop the Nazis from, getting finding the Holy Grail from, So they kind of went back to that whole religious thing. And, if you were religious and you believed in that Indiana Jones story, then I feel bad for you because that's not how the Holy Grail was really,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see that works. He's an archaeologist, so he's looking for historical artifacts. Like I'm cool with all that stuff, but yeah, I do remember that one, and the second one being like the cultural appropriation because that kid was a little cringe.
That kid was like, I was like, oh my god, right here, Dr. Jones, Dr. Jones. And all I kept thinking, I mean, I'm not sure which one came out first, but like even when I watch it now, I just keep thinking of, don't worry, what's that, a booby trap? You mean booby trap? That's what I said, booty trap. That's all I kept thinking. Every time I see that little kid, I just keep thinking of, the Goonies for some strange reason.
You don't think it's funny when you ever go back to these old movies and watch them now as an adult and you think to yourself, like, how did I find, like, you ever watch a movie that you thought you liked or used to like, and then you watch it and you're like, God, this is terrible. What was I thinking?
What's funny is a while ago, I want to say a year ago, they showed RoboCop, the original RoboCop, not any of the sequels. Mm-hmm. And I do remember as a kid, like, oh my God, RoboCop's so cool. Oh my God. So I had my kids watch it because it was on TV and they were like, wow, this is what you liked back then? I'm like, but look what he's doing. He goes, yeah, because he's half robot. Of course he's expected to do that. I'm like, well, back then we didn't have all this stuff,
Yeah, that's not fair. We didn't have
stop killing it for me, man.
Books like the kids now.
Exactly. Yeah, but I think to answer your question, RoboCop is one of those movies where I look back at it now and I'm like, why did I really like this?
Yeah, one that I recently went back to, and this is what we're going to be talking tonight. Partly about what we're going to be talking about tonight on the Woken Up Woke podcast. Weekend at Bernie's.
Woken Up Woke.
Yeah. And
yes,
Weekend at Bernie's was one that I don't want to kind of ruin anything about what we're going to talk about later, but that was a movie that I thought I liked a lot more than I actually did when I watched it. I rewatched Weekend at Bernie's actually yesterday, and it's funny. It's a good movie. It's a little ridiculous. If anybody knows the premise of it, it's a little kind of like out there. I don't even get into it, but that's a movie that I went back to. Was like, oh, it's not how I remembered it.
Shout out to Ev for answering one of our questions again on our IG page. Weekend at Bernie's was terrible. I mean, I couldn't even. The first one, okay. The first one was funny, and it's one of those movies where it's like cult following. It's a classic movie. But when they came out with the second one, I'm like, dude, this guy's been dead for how long now?
That's what I'm saying. Like, so the original one is without kind of getting into the plot, this guy is basically he has dealings with the mob, and he has these two guys that work for him that have clueless to what's going on, and he ends up getting killed. I believe that's what happens, and they're trying to pass him off as if he's still alive, so they can get their, I think, job promotion or something like that.
Yeah,
something ridiculous, real kind of 80s campy movie. But the movie takes place like 90% of it is on a beach. It's hot, and they have this dead guy. It's like, so there's no flies, and he doesn't get stiff at all,
and nobody
no
can
rigor mortis
smell.
sets
Yeah,
in.
Exactly. Nobody can smell a dead body. What are you guys doing?
Like, I mean, if anyone has seen a dead body after a few hours, I mean, there's some bloating.
Yeah, there's a lot of smell too. It's a foul odor, after a while. So
right. So then to return to that after I don't know how many months or whatever, it's a little ridiculous.
Now again, it's one of those movies where the first one did so well that they decided, you know what, let's do a Weekend at Bernie's, and it didn't come out right away, right? It came out, was it a couple years later?
Yeah.
So remind me, because I never watched the second one. So did this when they started the sequel, did it come out? Was it supposed to be like the very next day after the first one, or did they wait a couple days? Or
I don't remember honestly, but to me it doesn't matter.
yeah,
I think it does take place shortly after the first one ends, but still, it's still like kind of come on.
Yeah.
I think he's still like in the morgue or something like that.
I know. Yeah, I mean, one, you must have been really high to go mess with a dead guy, and act like he was still alive, and for you guys to get a dead guy to even stand and do all that other weird stuff, it's like, yeah, I couldn't.
I love how they get themselves into situations like, oh yeah, our boss died. Let's call the cops. No. Let's try to hold off and pass him off as he's
Let's just pretend he's alive. He's our uncle.
Hey, classic.
I'm going to answer some questions from the IG page that I did when I asked the questions on what's the worst movie. Rumblebee up in Toronto. I'm going to have to disagree with Rumblebee on this one. He says John Wick 2 was bad, and he said luckily because they came out with the John Wick 3 that erased John Wick 2. I kind of like John Wick 2 because it kind of still kind of had something to do with John Wick 1, but not really. And he's doing a whole new different, he's doing a different job. And John Wick 2 kind of explained a little bit more of what was that area, the sanctuary area where they would always go to, the hotel. Was it the hotel? Yeah. It kind of
all the kind of special
the special killers would hang out.
Killers,
yeah. I mean, that kind of, again, it kind of brought back to that. So Rumblebee, if you didn't like John Wick 2, I'm sorry, but I kind of like John Wick 2.
I did. It didn't bother me.
Yeah, no, John Wick 2 definitely, gave us a second look of it happened right after John Wick 1. They kept going on that same day, and the guy who saved John Wick's life wanted a favor, and that's all he did. He just wanted his sister killed.
Yeah, and when we were talking about movies like where the first one is kind of cut and dry and there's no room for a second one, John Wick movies, I think they're kind of made to where you can have that freedom, a little space to experiment with the story and kind of put them in another setting, not necessarily with the same issues from the first one. But I don't know, I like them. I think all three of them, right?
Yeah, three. 4's coming out. 4 is supposed to be coming out. Yeah. 4 is supposed to be coming out. You ever into this whole theory like John Wick is really Neo in the Matrix? You ever hear any of that stupid stuff?
That, no.
Yeah. Supposedly, like he's really Neo, and and Neo and John Wick is supposed to clash. I mean, it's one of those theories that you got movie theorists coming around and saying like John Wick and Neo is the same two people, which I'm like, that's kind of pushing it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a reach. I mean, I never I don't see how I like the correlation, how they would be, kind of related. But speaking of the Matrix, I have to throw in the Matrix Revolution, or as I like to call it,
Was that the third one?
That's the third one.
That was the last one too, right?
That's where they have Colonel Sanders trying to explain what the Matrix was.
That's right, it was Colonel Sanders.
It was one of the most confusing. I watched that scene countless times, and I still don't understand what the hell he's saying. There is even Will Ferrell does a spoof on one of the MTV Movie Awards. It's him and Stifler and Justin Timberlake, and it's just they make fun of how ridiculous that scene is, because it's like, I'm not a physicist or a scientist. I don't understand what the hell you guys are talking. I don't even think they understood what they were talking about.
English, please, English that us movie who were paying $10 a ticket would understand. But yeah, that movie did have a lot of bad things. I mean, just when he's fighting that agent, right? Like, when he's fighting that agent, just all that CGI was terrible.
Yeah, it was too much, and it was hard to follow. Like I just started getting bored with it and couldn't wait for it to be over.
You actually waited for it to be over? I would have just like, done. I'll watch this another time. And what I didn't like was they made the Keymaster an Asian guy.
Mm-hmm.
And the Asian guy couldn't even fight. I mean, it's like, I know you're a Keymaster, but have some kind of something, It's like when the shit got bad, he ran away.
Of all the stereotypes to not use.
Fight, Asian guy, fight.
What are you, the one Asian guy that doesn't know how to fight in the movie?
I mean, they had an Asian guy there who knew karate or knew some kind of martial arts, and they killed him off right away. It's like,
yeah.
Then you
and
bring
it's
this
the Matrix. Doesn't you just plug in and like type in karate and then
redo? Yeah. Well, supposedly the Keymaster was not in the Matrix, right? He was supposedly in the real universe. That's why he was afraid to die. But God, if
that's fucked up. So they made the Asian guy a janitor. Screw you. Nah, I really hate that movie.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think the best part of that movie was the scene that they did in Alameda, the freeway scene.
That was in Alameda.
Yeah. It was the Posey Tube. Before the Posey Tube was open to the public, they decided, you know what? Let's use this freeway and let's use this as part of the Matrix. So every time I drive down there, I'm like, this is where Neo was supposedly jumping on the truck right here.
Cool, that's interesting. Yeah, I was before I ever moved out here, so I didn't know.
Yeah, that was a big thing for when movies were starting to be filmed in San Francisco, and that could be a different podcast. Movies that were filmed in San Francisco.
What's the deal? Just real quick with that. What's the deal with like they always blowing up or like destroying Golden Gate Bridge in movies?
Yeah,
what has the Golden Gate Bridge done to anybody?
I don't know, man, but it's like in that movie, you want to talk about bad sequels, the X-Men movie where I forget which X-Men it is, but it's the one where they take the Golden Gate Bridge, they're on the Golden Gate Bridge, and they break it into one piece, and now it's a bridge that's going from the Golden Gate Bridge to Alcatraz. So people are walking on the bridge, I mean, there's something about the bridge that producers don't like. And you know what it is? I bet you what it is San Francisco charges so much on movie tax. They do. They charge so much on movie tax that they're only allowing certain people to film certain amount of times here in San Francisco. That's why half the movies that San Francisco, you're like, oh, San Francisco this, San Francisco that. But then you're like, that's not San Francisco. Then you find out later at the end credits it's in Canada.
Yeah.
Because San Francisco charges so much on movie taxes that I bet you they're like, you know what? Fuck you. We're blowing up your bridge.
Yeah, screw you.
That's what we're going to do.
And your bridge, bitch.
Your bridge is going to explode. I mean, yeah, even in like Planet of the Apes, whichever one that was, they messed up the bridge.
Yeah.
So,
and it's funny you say that, like that TV series Monk, I didn't know that was filmed out here till my wife is like addicted to that show. Even today it's done, over with, and it's takes place here in San Francisco. He's a detective, and I can count on one hand the amount of times that they actually filmed in San Francisco. And I don't mean like the B-roll in the beginning. I'm talking about where you can tell that they're actually in the city. Like, no, most of the time it's like, it's painfully obvious. It's like a studio or something.
Well, and it's funny because I never watched an episode of Monk just because that one character who plays Monk.
Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah, he drives me crazy. And for him to be a detective, it's like, I don't.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys where it's like, how are you a detective, man?
Well, I mean, if you watch the show, it makes sense. He's kind of he's got OCD, and he's not like he's one of those kind of like Asperger's type people where he doesn't pick up on social cues and facial cues, and he's just all screwed up. Like, he is not a regular guy. Probably shouldn't be. So it makes sense. It's actually a pretty good show, but for me, it just falls under all like Columbo and all those kind of other shows.
Columbo,
to me, they're all the same.
Columbo was another. I think Columbo and Monk was related. I think
it's kind of similar style show. So and like Perry Mason and all that stuff. So it's cool to watch when there's nothing on, but I'm not necessarily a big
Since
fan.
You brought up San Francisco, I might have to go check it out and see if there's any San Francisco scenes that I can talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking that's the reason why the bridge is always blown up, because San Francisco charges too much on movie taxes. That's why you always see exterior shots, but you never see interior shots. So
yeah, and I think it's the same for New York too. They're always blowing up the Statue of Liberty and Empire State Building.
Yeah. Independence Day, wasn't that? Didn't they blow up the Empire State Building?
Yep. Right. That beam right through the
Yeah.
top of it. Speaking of which, the second part of that was pretty bad. I couldn't even get through Independence Day Resurgence.
Yeah.
I mean, even Will Smith was like, "You're bugging. I'm not doing that."
Well, what was it? Will Smith was in the middle of another project. I think that's the reason why he didn't want to do it. I don't.
He probably saw how bad it was going to be. He read the script.
So what do? You brought back his son instead, right? It was supposed to be that little kid. He's an older kid now and takes after Will Smith, and the same thing is going on again. You bring back Jeff Goldblum, who is the same character.
Yeah, and then like Jeff Goldblum's character is like supposed to carry the movie.
He was the main character in that movie.
Yeah.
It's bad enough that we had to go through Jurassic Park with Jeff Goldblum. Now you got to watch Aliens with Jeff Goldblum talking about bad sequels.
How does Jeff Goldblum become famous? I mean, I know The Fly was a great movie, but now that I see him as an adult, I'm like, has he always been like this? I find him funny. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. No, he's hilarious. I like him.
He's so eccentric. I'm like, there's no way he's been like this all these years.
You know, Disney Plus has a show out with him. I forget the name of the show, but he just goes around and he's just Jeff Goldblum and he does his little thing. And it's a pretty entertaining show. But as far as movies wise, you know, like I said, Independence Day, it was bad enough we had to watch him the first time, right? Mm-hmm. Now you bring him back for a second time and he's supposed to, like you said, carry the show. It's like, all right. You were a nerd in the first one. You were the one who figured out. Now we're expecting you to save the world because you blew it up the first time.
Yeah. And now you're like the hero and you're not afraid of anything and you're not. Yeah, it's.
Yeah, no. And again, Jurassic Park, if you want to talk about bad sequels, I don't even remember which one he was in. I mean, there was the first one that he was in. And then the second, maybe the third one. Maybe the third one is the one where he was in with Julia something, whatever her name was.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus? Sheena? Sorry.
No, she's the one.
You said Julia and two other names.
She's the one in Seinfeld, right?
Oh yeah.
No, not her. But just even that Jurassic Park one was just like, you know, I like the first Jurassic Park and they should have stopped it then. Then they came out with a second. No, okay, so I think he was in the second one. Because the third one, man, see, there's so many.
He has a daughter in one of them,
yes,
I think, the second one.
And she's like this, that was the whole cheesy part about the movie, is like, she's like this gymnast, right? And in one of the scenes where they're stuck or they get caught in a barn or something like that, the velociraptors are getting ready to catch her. And she does this whole gymnastic movement to try to, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's like, come on, bro. These things have killed everybody in the last how many, scenes, and all of a sudden you're gonna do a fucking handstand.
And then they bring the freaking T-Rex to Los Angeles, and now the T-Rex is running all over the city of Los Angeles, and I'm like, come on, guys.
I don't even think I remember watching that whole movie. I don't remember that scene.
That movie was one of those movies where it started in the jungle, started in the whole jungle, comes back to LA because they want to open a theme park in LA. So I mean, it was one of those movies, like I said, it's like, Jesus, why did you even come out with this one? Why?
Jason Takes Manhattan all over again.
Yeah, this time T-Rex takes LA.
Do you like the newer Jurassic Parks with what's his face, Chris Pratt?
Because they kind of kept to the same storyline, but at the same time they kind of totally started something different. Where Jurassic Park, it was just like this one. I mean, they paid homage to a lot of the old Jurassic Parks. Well, this one's called Jurassic World now, right? Yeah, Jurassic World is what it's called. They're good movies. I like the first one that they did with Jurassic World. The second one, did you watch the second one? Lost Kingdom?
I don't think I have, actually.
Okay. Well,
but it's fine. I mean, you can talk about it.
They decided to create a human.
Oh my god.
So
What do you mean?
So, and you know how they recreated a dinosaur?
Yeah.
They decided to do that and try it with a human, and they did. They succeeded.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, I mean, it's
Did
like
they at least accidentally like cross it with a dinosaur?
no, you know what they did? That's probably going to be in part 3.
Jeff Goldblum's gonna be a half T-Rex.
And Jeff Goldblum was actually in that movie. He was like part of the Senate or whatever, where he was like, these animals were made to hunt, da da da. Now we're integrating these animals with us. It's like it's going to be us versus them. No, it's going to be them because they're going to kill all of us.
Yeah.
No, you want to talk about zombies? No, I think dinosaurs are worse than zombies.
Yeah, right. You guys haven't learned your lesson from the first movie.
You guys should have kept him in that park in Hawaii, but instead you decide to bring him here to California. What's wrong with you guys? Bad sequels right there.
Yeah.
Quit it. How do you feel? So you got your sequels and then you have your reboots. Would you consider a reboot a sequel or just the reboot of the movie? How do you feel about reboots?
Again, like I touched on this on my last Man a Few Words. I'm not a fan of it. I feel like it's just a easy way out when you can't come up with something on your own.
Yeah,
if something's good, there's no need to expand on it.
Yeah.
Not to say that it hasn't been done. I mean, like Jumanji, let's just say I actually enjoyed that remake or reboot.
Was it 20 years? 20 years?
20
later?
years.
Yeah.
Wasn't really anything like the original.
No.
It didn't like stick to the same storyline or it's not done verbatim and they kind of updated a little bit for these times. So that was cool. I liked it, but even still, I would have rather they didn't do it, honestly. It wasn't like it was that great of a movie to me to
Would you consider Jumanji a reboot or a sequel?
I would consider it. Oh, damn it! Wait, I don't know now.
Because it was a reboot, but at the same time, it was kind of a sequel because they brought back a lot of the old, Robert was Parrish. I think the Parrish kid was his name.
Right. But I'm trying to recall if the stories have anything to do with each other. I don't think they do.
No, but they don't cross paths at all. I mean, the only time they do is when they go to that village and they say, "Oh, this is the guy Parrish. He was here longer, or he was here before I was," kind of thing. But yeah, so I would consider that a reboot, not a sequel.
But I'm generally I don't like them. Especially if it's a movie that I'm a fan of, and I'm just like, why are you doing this? But then I feel like there's some cases where it's allowed, like superheroes.
Yeah.
Because the nature of comic books, how many times have we had different artists and writers attack the same character and create their own universe for that character, like Batman or Superman, whatever. So I don't mind it so much there. In fact, sometimes you need it because when they do stuff like Batman and Robin with George Clooney, like you need someone to save the franchise.
You are frozen.
Yeah, like that was I had that on my list too. That was
my God. Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze. When they said we're going to bring back Mr. Freeze, I was like, yes. Yeah. They were said it's going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. I was like, no.
And then George Clooney was like the worst Bruce Wayne. He's so full of himself. Spends half of the movie smirking,
looking for his Nespresso.
Yeah, it was like, and then it wasn't like the ones before with Michael Keaton and all that. Like they kind of cheesed it up a little bit. And it was almost like the 60s one with Adam West, where it was like a lot of like puns and like it was just real. Like it felt like it was more for little kids than.
That's the first time they introduced the nipple Batman too.
Yes.
His George Clooney for some reason decided let's put a little nipple on his chest plate.
With a bunch of close-ups.
Yeah, with a bunch of close-ups where Michael Keaton and even Val Kilmer, their costumes, it was just the solid chest plate, but you bring George Clooney, it's like, well, put a little nipple on there.
Yeah, it's cold in the Batcave.
It's cold. This bath suit's not warm enough. We're gonna freeze in here. Oh my God,
I think that's coming across in the movies. We need to show how cold he is.
You know what I hate about these movies? Talking about superhero movies is they always have to have more than one villain. You know, it's like in the original Batman with Michael Keaton was perfect because they only had Joker. That's it, right? You didn't have to worry about. Then now with all these, they have more than one. You know, it's like in this one that we're talking about, Batman and Robin, you had Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy, right?
Poison Ivy.
Yeah, she was. It's like, come on, you guys got to figure out. You know.
Yeah, that was the other thing that they did with that was they added all these characters because they had Batman and Robin, and I think they had Catwoman in there, and it was like they were just looking for a way to just fill it with as many celebrities as they could. However many names we can. It's big budget. Throw them all in there and see what happens.
Chris O'Donnell was Robin. Chris O'Donnell. And then they had Alicia Silverstone playing Batgirl.
Batgirl, that's what it was. Batgirl.
Yeah. No, it was just you're right. It was just one of these movies where it's like, why'd you even make it? And then when they came out with the new one with this new guy that played Batman, not Ben Affleck, Christian Bale, is that his name?
No. Christian Bale or the new guy from the Twilight series, Robert Pattinson.
No, not him yet, but the Christian Bale. When they came out with the Christian Bale sagas, those kind of erased all the bad Batmans in the past because
they brought me back. They brought me back the Christian Bale ones because I think this one, Batman and Robin, if it wasn't this one, it was the one after because I think Clooney did two of them, but those kind of ruined Batman for me for a while. Like I was done.
I think for all of us.
I'm like, I don't need to see it. I did get back into the comics later because I wasn't really a big DC fan and all that. So when I got older, started reading the darker Batman comics.
Nice.
So the timing was right when they came out with the kind of Christian Bale series that I was like, yes, this is what I'm talking about. This is Batman.
That can be for next week for the good series.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna bring up one sequel that again never should have been made, and that was Speed 2.
Oh yes, I got that anyway.
Cruise Control.
Cruise Control.
First of all, if your main star Keanu Reeves says nope, I'm not gonna do it, that should have been a sign right there that we are not gonna come out with Speed 2. And
mind you, Keanu's like the nicest guy in Hollywood.
Yeah.
If he's like no,
he was like no. And the sad part was the guy Jason Patrick who plays his character. They thought us who were watching is going to be like, that's not Keanu Reeves. But they had the same character, just a different actor, and they were supposed to be on their honeymoon and what kills me about that movie, do you remember the movie in Speed? Do you remember the scene where he's on the freeway and the black guy, he's driving the convertible and he helps him out, like Keanu Reeves helps him out to get on the bus, right? Mm-hmm. You remember that scene?
Right.
That same guy just happens to be on that vacation, that vacation that they're in. And this time that guy is on a speedboat.
Oh, God.
So
Kyle Barker.
Was that his name?
No, he played the character Kyle Barker in Living Single.
Yes. He was the Mr. Proper. Mr. Proper.
So he just happened to be on vacation.
He just happened to be there. And just happens to be on a speedboat, the same exact thing with the fast Mercedes I think he was in the freeway.
Yeah.
And it's like
how convenient.
And just the whole cruise ship to go fast. And oh my God.
It's giving me like indigestion thinking about it.
That's what I mean. It's like I honestly don't know why Sandra Bullock said yes, let's do it. I think this will be good.
It's that money, man.
No,
that money sounded great.
No.
They're like, hey, you know what a part 2 to Speed would pay you right now? She's like, sign me up. I don't care how stupid the story is.
Do it. And that was the prime. I think that was the start of Sandra Bullock's prime, where she's just started doing movies left and right.
Mm-hmm. She took off.
And terrible.
No, just to kind of go back a little bit, another one that they were just trying to capitalize on, the first one being a hit, was Teen Wolf 2.
Oh, God.
With Jason Bateman.
And remind me again, were they playing the same characters? From Teen Wolf
I
1?
believe, you know what? I don't know, honestly.
Okay.
It's been so long, but I want to say he was still the same character because I
Okay.
remember I think Styles, his friend Styles is in that. And,
Yeah, okay.
but that was like, I mean, I'm a Jason Bateman fan.
Yeah,
Bless
yeah,
his
yeah.
heart. He tried, but it just didn't have that magic.
I mean,
That
we'll go back to Speed, right? You take Keanu Reeves, then you replace him with another character. Now you take
Mhm.
Teen Wolf, who Michael J. Fox played that role perfectly, and then you bring in a Jason Bateman, who you think could do.
Mhm.
I mean, Jason Bateman had a name for himself already, right? So he did Silver
Yeah.
Spoons and he did a couple other movies. So you're like, all right, Jason Bateman can actually pull this movie off. I think it was more the writers.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, them just trying to quick fix. Everyone's gonna love it because the first one was great. So it doesn't matter what we throw on screen. I
Yeah.
think that's the kind of attitude that they have with some of these sequels.
And I think they kept the storyline almost the same. It was a whole basketball thing, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, no.
God.
I did not see that. No. It was one of those movies where like I had to ask you because I didn't even watch it.
Yeah. A lot of these I didn't get through. I mean, I have a few written down that I'm just like I barely, got through the credits before I was like, all right, I can't watch this anymore. Like you were talking about scary movies before. Blair Witch 2, The Book of Shadows.
Yeah. No.
The first one, if anybody has seen it, it changed the game as far as kind of stylized movies where it's like handheld and showing you a different perspective, like of the actual actor and things like that. It was great. It was cool. It was creepy. The way they promoted it was like you weren't sure if this was actual footage. There was very little they were telling about the movie, so it kind of added to the lore of it. And then the second one, it just went completely left. Like it was filmed like a normal movie. They got these actors that man, it was just like, what are you doing? They tried to make a regular movie and they just made a regular bad movie.
No, I didn't even watch it. That's how bad it was. I mean, when I found out Blair Witch was fake, after 3 months of thinking it was real, and then I found out it was fake, I'm like, man, I wasted all this money thinking. I didn't even want to spend, the extra money on the second. I think that was the Witches one, right? It was Blair Witch 2, the Witches something.
The Book of Shadows.
Okay.
Like
yeah, I know.
But yeah, that's what I mean. Like it was the way they rolled out that movie was smart. It was innovative. Like I was the same way. A lot of people thought it was real. Then you find out it's fake. You're like, oh, that's dumb. But it's still, it was still pretty good. And then I don't know who thought it was a good idea to just do something completely different.
Yeah.
And there was someone who thought they knew better and they didn't. And they killed it.
A throw shout out to Casey King, who left us a comment on my Facebook page about bad movies. He says everything after Terminator 2, which thinking about I probably can agree with. Everything after Terminator 2. And then he said everything after Too Fast and Too Furious.
So that's funny. I literally have right here from part 2 and on. Yeah. It's like Fast and Furious #1, good. They could have stopped there.
Yeah. Tell me why. I want to see if you and Casey are thinking the same thing. So tell me why you think everything from 2 on is bad.
I mean, I just think it's ridiculous the stuff that they do for one, that we're supposed to believe cars can do and that they can do, right? And then there's I don't know who said it, but it's something that went on that someone said online that I've heard, and it's like, I think it was a meme where like 7, 8 movies now, and like not once do they stop for gas. Like, it's
well, I gotta correct you on that one, because in the one movie, in the beginning of the movie, I forget which one it was, is again one of those Killjoy movies or Overkill, because there's so many of them. In the opening scene, they're actually trying to rob a gas truck.
Okay.
Do you remember that one? They're trying to rob
I remember the scene, but I didn't
truck.
realize that was a gas truck.
Yeah, they're trying to rob a gas truck because I guess, like you said, they needed gas. So I guess
Okay.
I guess the
So
memes was so bad that they had to explain like this is how they get their gas, that they have to rob a gas truck.
rob a truck and we're good for 3, 4 movies. Don't worry, guys.
I mean, Casey's argument is um, the beginning was about street racing, Tokyo Drift street racing. Part two, when they introduced Tyrese, was more about street racing and trying to steal at the same time.
Yeah, okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it kind of moves into like illegal activity
Yeah.
and their dealings with the cops and federal agents and all that. Yeah.
And then he says everything after that had nothing to do with cars anymore. I mean, every now and then they'll show a car here and there. He called it the Avengers in cars.
It's hilarious. That's actually pretty spot on.
Yeah. I mean, I like it. I mean, I'm not gonna. I mean, if it was out right now, I would go watch it just because, you're 9 movies into it. You might as well see what's going on.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't like is Vin Diesel's character is like someone has to humble him,
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm hoping in this new one with John Cena being introduced as his brother, another Toretto. Yeah, it's like someone needs to humble this guy because in all movies he's like he didn't want to step up to The Rock. He was like, nope, I'm not gonna work with him. What does The Rock do? He comes out with his own sequel. Hobbs and
Rock's
Shaw.
like, screw you guys. And then Tyrese threw a big tantrum about that.
Well, Tyrese was mad at The Rock because, I mean, Tyrese even said on his Twitter, "We have kids to feed. You're taking money away from my children." And then The Rock said, "It's not my fault that you can't act."
Yeah, like what the fuck, bro? And I mean, it's not even your
it's not your show.
Franchise.
No.
Like you hopped on later. I mean, I same here. I like Fast and Furious for what it is. It's mindless action movie, cool stunt scenes and all that.
Yeah.
It's cool. I don't expect much from it going into it, so I'm never really disappointed. There are points where I'm just like, come on, bro. You expect me to believe that? Like when him and what's his name went head on in like one of the movies, and they just walk out of the cars, and it's just like,
the one scene where they're on the freeway, and he was on one side of the freeway, and it was a bridge freeway, and Letty was on the other side, and then he's like, "Jump on!" and she just jumps over this embankment of the bridge and just magically lands on the hood of his car.
Nice.
I'm like, if I did that, I'd be dead right now.
Hey, listen, man, you learn this stuff when you street race. It comes with the territory.
That's why it's Fast and Furious.
I want to say that I created a great drinking game involving Fast and Furious. You can watch any this works with any Fast and Furious movie.
Okay.
Right? You got to take a shot every time they say family. I promise you're going to be wrecked by the end of the movie because it's always about family.
It's always about family. It's always about family. I just saw that last one with Charlize Theron. That last one, Fate of the Eight, I think it was what it was called.
Oh, is that what it's called?
Yeah, Fate of the Eight.
I didn't even see that one.
Yeah, and that one, I think the first, like you said, first 5 minutes, I think they said family like 10 times.
Yeah.
I think you did, yeah. I mean, it's just like, Paul Walker's gone. You give him a nice send off. He's gone, and Fast and Furious was Paul Walker, right? Paul Walker and Vin Diesel was Fast and Furious. At least you guys could have done was change the name, right? The family,
like Calvin and Hobbes, what Hobbes. They did.
Yeah. They decided to go with Calvin and Hobbes, and
I mean Calvin and Shaw.
Calvin and Hobbes. Is that a comic book?
Damn.
How many shots did you take before we got on the show already?
I wonder how many times I said that too. Somebody's Googling like, what the hell? I can't find.
With this cat? Is it cat? Calvin and Cat?
The Rock
Hobbes?
is not in Calvin and Hobbes. I'm sorry. You don't know what you're talking about.
Dwayne Johnson. When do you think The Rock's going to drop his name, The Rock, and just go with Dwayne Johnson?
I kind of feel like he tried. And when he started his movies, there was a few when they first started. The first time I heard his name, when they were like Dwayne Rock Johnson.
Yeah.
But I think he's too attached. Like I don't think he can ever detach himself from the Rock character, and I think he probably was like, all right, there's nothing I can do about this now. But he seems pretty like cool about knowing where he comes from,
Yeah, yeah.
and he's like, yeah, fuck it, it made me who I am. So
But I wonder every time he uses the name The Rock, does WWE, does Vince McMahon get a cut of that? I mean, that's his name from wrestling, you know?
that's interesting.
So do they?
You know, does he use it though, like in his movies, like in the credits? Does it say Dwayne Johnson or does it say Dwayne Rock Johnson? Because we can call him The Rock all day and they
Yeah.
can't say anything about that.
I
But
want to say it says Dwayne The Rock Johnson in parentheses,
okay.
right? I want to say,
Yeah.
but again, I don't know. I don't really stay for the credits when that happens.
Oh, you're not like my wife who makes me sit to
No, I
the
do.
end and
I do.
and not just Marvel movies.
Thanks to Marvel, I do. Thanks to Marvel, I've been staying till the end. And, like that one, and this happened because in one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, I want to say the second one, they showed a teaser or they showed a secret ending at the end. And I totally missed it. And then like the next day is like, did you stay till the end? Like, no, why? He's like, oh, you totally missed it. So here I am on YouTube. I'm trying to find it and I find like the shaky, cell phone camera. And I'm like, oh shit, I missed that one. Had nothing to do with the movie. I mean, had nothing to do with the movie, but it's just the fact that I missed it.
That you missed some,
Yeah.
something at the end. Yeah.
So ever since,
How do you feel about those Pirates movies sequels?
I like them just because, not because they're Disney. So don't think because they're Disney. I think Johnny Depp does just the Jack Sparrow. I mean, the character that he does with Jack Sparrow. I mean, they can do this forever if they wanted to and come up with new. I mean, like they had Blackbeard. It was one of the, they did the Fountain of Youth. The first one they did kind of stay true to the movie or true to the Disney ride, which was kind of cool. I mean, I don't have a problem with them as sequels. I mean, I wouldn't consider them good sequels and I wouldn't consider them bad sequels.
Gotcha. Just decent movies, I guess.
I mean, if they came out with them, 10 years from now, and I'd probably still watch them.
My only issue, and it's not even with the movies, it was with Johnny Depp, who I'm a fan of. It felt like a few of the movies that he did after that or while he was doing that,
Yeah.
it was almost like he couldn't break the Jack Sparrow character. Like he was real kind of wide-eyed and a little like eccentric, and I can't think of the other movie that it was, but I was like, oh, he's just doing Jack Sparrow again. Like, and I think it was the Willy Wonka or one of the, I don't know, but that was the only thing that I was like, he's starting to lose me. But I did like the movies though. I think they're all.
He's a method actor, right? He's one of those that has to get into his character, and for me, just to think of what a method actor has to go through, it's like you have to get into that character. And if he's filming Pirates and then at the same time he's doing, Willy Wonka, it's kind of hard to, take yourself from that character and like, which character do you want me to be? Do you want me to be this chocolatier? Do you want me to be, this pirate? But,
especially when they love the character that they're doing.
Yeah.
Daniel Day-Lewis,
Yeah.
he said after he did Gangs of New York that it was hard for him to get out of the butcher character.
Yeah.
Like he still was speaking with that old world New York accent, and he just really kind of fell in love with that character. So he said for a while there he was still the butcher.
Coming home with the butcher. What's for dinner? You're not acting
This
no more.
boy has no heart.
You're not acting no more, honey. You're back home. How do you feel about the Transformers when it comes to sequels?
I'm not a big fan of the Transformers movies to begin with.
Okay.
Michael Bay, I like the first one. I did like the first one. All the ones after that, I maybe have watched one of them. The special effects were a little hard to watch. It's in some of the movies. There's just like so much going on and all the explosions and just it was kind of hard for me to follow. So
yeah.
Because I'm, that's my era. I'm such a Transformers fan. I had all the toys and watched the cartoons, so I expected a lot from it, and I did. I wasn't disappointed with the first one, but it started to lose me. It got kind of boring to me. I don't know. Like there's action movies that just they throw so much shit in the bag, and
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here like, what the hell's going on? And there's no break and for story, and yeah, I'm not a big fan of
Well,
him.
well, the thing is, Michael Bay. He wasn't he isn't he the director of Bad Boys? Isn't Michael Bay Bad Boys director too?
Bad Boys, yeah,
He likes to blow shit up all the time, and
yeah,
when you watch Transformers is probably the best movie to watch if he's going to blow something up. But I cannot go watch a Michael Bay movie and not find anything that has to be blown up. And the fact that his he used one of his characters, what's her Megan Fox, who he used in a couple movies also, and like brought her on to Transformers. Megan Fox to me was a terrible actress, and to bring her in with another, Shia LaBeouf is a good actor if he has his head straight.
yeah.
But this started in 2007. I'm looking at their movie page right now, 2007, and the last one, I think this is the one with Mark Wahlberg, was 2017, or it could have been with 2014 with Mark Wahlberg. But when you have too much Shia LaBeouf acting as Wiki, it's just I can't,
Yeah.
And the storyline again, it's one of these movies where it's so overkill that I don't remember which one I'm watching anymore.
Yep. They all blend into each other, and I'm just like,
I'm like, which one are we watching? And The Dark Side of the Moon. I'm like, what? It's all the same to me. So I mean, Transformer. When it first came out, yes, good movie. You're bringing my childhood back. And then the second one, all right. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm done with it. I don't even think I watched the one with Mark Wahlberg. I don't even think I watched that in the movie theater. That's just how bad it was.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't. I caught that on, it was already out on cable, and I couldn't finish it. I was just like, oh, geez, come on. Mark, and I'm a fan of Mark Wahlberg, but I don't feel that he can do anything. I think there's limits, and you would assume an action movie, Transformers, that's him all day, but I don't know. It was just a little weird.
Yeah. I didn't. I wasn't.
Didn't fit.
I didn't feel it either.
I don't think we can do an episode about bad sequels without talking, and I'm gonna ask you how you feel about this, because I was young when the originals came out, so the first one I saw was this one, but the notoriously bad sequel, Godfather 3, at least in my opinion. How do you feel about that movie?
All right, now I'm gotta think about this whole thing. After the whole part 2 thing, they should have just cut it right there. And part 3 came out how many years later?
16 years after the second one. So there was a 2-year gap between the first two.
And then
fine.
And then in the third
years.
one, Al Pacino, was it Al Pacino?
Mm-hmm.
He became the Don. He was like the king, right? So he pretty much took over his dad's role, Marlon Brando's role, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't feel the same watching that. I mean, you watch Godfather 1 and 2 when you're like, oh shit, the horse head next to the bed. I mean, just all that, like the killing scene. I mean, it was just wow, Then you watch Godfather 3 and it brings me back to, did Al Pacino need money because he needed to do a third? What did he need to explain to us in the third one?
Yeah, it was such a reach in the third one, because the story was, there really was no story. Like in part 3, he wanted to get out, right?
Yeah.
And they don't really give a reason as to why, aside from the fact of like he never wanted to get into it in the first one, but by part 2 he was kind of already immersed and over that. So it was just a little strange. And like I said, for me, the first one I saw was Godfather 3. The first 2 came out, I think either I was a kid or maybe before I was born. So I hadn't seen them, but I heard about them, knew about them. You hear all the stuff, and everybody talks about Godfather. My parents didn't allow me to see it until the third one came out. And I remember my dad being really excited about it because he was a big fan of the first 2. And so I'm like, I finally get to see, Godfather. And I was bored out of my mind.
There's
like
so
I
much
was
talking,
laying on the floor, like rolling around, playing with my toys. Like, geez, like, is this over yet? Because it's like 3 hours of your life that you're not going to get back. And so I was kind of done with The Godfather after that. I was like, that sucks. That must be, I don't get it. It's for old people. And then I went back and watched the first two and was like, wow,
Yeah.
okay, you guys fucked up.
Yeah.
Why would you just not leave it? Like part two, and we'll probably talk about this on the next episode, is arguably better than the first.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed.
And to like, that's, you caught lightning in the bottle twice.
Yeah.
You outdid yourself. Quit while you're ahead.
Quit. Exactly. I mean, it's like, makes me wonder, like, did you need a job? Did Al Pacino just need something to do? I mean, what did you need to explain to us in Godfather 3 that we already didn't get in Godfather 2?
Yeah, that gets me. I wonder if it was money or what, because I feel like as an actor, you're a fan of movies. You can kind of take yourself out of it for a second. You can read the script and say, did he really think it was good? Maybe he did. Maybe he was that narcissistic that he was like, oh, I can do this.
I can do this. Exactly. No, I mean, I'm trying to look at the wiki page right now, and I don't really understand why they had to come out with a second one or a third one when everything was explained. I mean, they made part one and they had to make part two because part two explained everything in part one. And, we can touch on this next week, but everything kind of ended in part two where you didn't need to explain everything in part three.
Yeah.
And, it's one of those movies where I think I watched it once just to see what this was about. And I was, like you said, I was hoping some of the stuff in part two was in part three. Because part two was, to me, the most goriest, Godfather that was out there. An exception to some of the scenes in part one, but part three, it was just like, someone die already. Someone sliced this guy's throat already,
Yeah.
And it's like, I think Al Pacino was like, okay, we're going to talk the shit out of everybody in this movie. And we're going to bore the fuck out of everybody in this movie. Because,
I'm going to show you my acting chops. I think he was still riding high on like Scent of a Woman and all that stuff.
Hoo-wah!
Hoo-wah!
Hoo-wah! And it's
Michael Corleone. Hoo-wah!
See, that's the thing too with Al Pacino. It's like you do The Godfather. And then after you do The Godfather, you do Scarface, right? So we talked about this whole thing about being typecast. It's kind of hard for me to find you as Scarface, and then you come out with Godfather 3, and you're kind of like, we're going to end, we're going to stop this family, and we're going to get away from all this, and we're going to live a normal life. Yeah. When in Scarface, you're here killing everybody because he looks at you funny. I couldn't do it.
Speaking, I'm glad you just reminded me of something. Speaking of Al Pacino and bad sequels, Carlito's Way 2.
Oh my God.
I think it had like Fat Joe and like a couple other rappers sprinkled. That's always a bad sign when you have rappers in a movie that aren't LL Cool J.
wasn't what's that other Latin actor that was there? He was also in John Wick. John Leguizamo was in it.
John Leguizamo, who I cannot stand, was in it as well. He's one of the most. He's a huge over actor, notorious over actor, because he. I don't know if he did theater, but he loves theater.
Yeah.
And if you watch his older stand-ups, that's kind of what his thing is about. Yeah. And I just cannot stand the guy. But anyway.
Now remind me, was this Carlito's Way 2? Was this the one where Fat Joe's sitting on the couch and then somebody comes in and then he does the reclining thing and a shotgun jumps from over and then he takes it?
Yeah, I believe that sounds about right, because I know he tried to do some real gangster stuff in the movie, and it's like, come on, dude, you're Fat Joe.
You're Fat Joe. You can't even stand on your own.
Yeah, but again,
Big Pun was in the movie too, right? Big Pun was in the movie, wasn't he?
He probably was. I would.
He could have been Fat Joe's like henchman or something like that, right?
I guess.
Wait,
I don't know who he's chasing down, but
was Carlito even in the movie?
No, because he dies in the first one.
Okay.
Remember, the first one ends with him. He got shot on the subway.
That's right.
Platform, and he's laying there like, oh, here I am again. How'd I get into this?
That's right.
So part two, I'll be honest with you, I don't even know the plot, but I just know it had Fat Joe, Mario Van Peebles, and John Leguizamo.
Oh
if that's not enough to tell you it's a bad movie. Shout out to Mario Van Peebles, though. I love the guy, but he's not known for great movies. So
Man, that's something. That's a podcast we can talk about. Name one good movie that Mario Van Peebles has done. I can't. I mean, he's always playing like a second fiddle to someone in the movie. You know, New Jack City, wasn't he playing? He was like, wasn't he was he the main cop in New Jack City?
He was the main cop, but he still wasn't
the main. No. Dude,
Yeah,
Wesley Snipes, Nino Brown was the main character in that movie.
Yeah, Wesley Snipes, he was the main character, and then you had the Ice-T played a cop.
Yeah,
and I want to say one of I could be wrong. I'm not even gonna.
Chris Rock.
Those were the Chris Rock.
Chris Rock's famous
the best crackhead on film ever. It was realistic. I think he did crack because there was, or he knew someone who did crack because that was too good.
Oh my god! And I love how they did it. I forget which movie they did where they bring Chris Rock back. I want to say it was one of the spoofs movie where he does that same scene where he's just sitting there like trying to blow on that ice again. I forget the name of that, but yeah, man. I can't think of a movie where Mario Van Peebles actually done a movie where you're like, I'm gonna go watch this movie because Mario Van Peebles is in it.
Yeah, I can't think. I'm an IMDb him just to find out. But
I want to know if he's still alive. Is he still alive? Is his career still alive? Sorry, man, Mario Van Peebles. If you see this, I apologize. You can reach out to me. Reach out to me. Any other movies? I mean, someone brought out Zoolander 2.
Yep.
You want to talk about years later? Zoolander 2 should never been released.
No, that one I think Ben Stiller just buckled under the pressure of it because fans kept asking about when is it going to be done and are you going to do another one? And again, I like the first one. It's a ridiculous movie, but I like some of those kind of ridiculously over the top comedies because when it's done well, there's some actually smart comedy under the surface. And that's what they did there. And I thought it was great. And then the second one, I didn't finish it because it was just.
I want to say Ben Stiller just did a big big fuck you. You guys wanted the second one. Here it is, and I'm gonna make it suck so bad that next time I make a movie that's good, you're not gonna ask me for a sequel. You know,
you're Ben Stiller, bitch. Do you know how big I am right now?
I mean, like I'm so glad they didn't come out with another Dodgeball.
I agree only because I love Dodgeball.
Yeah. I mean, it's like why bring out a second one when the first one was already good?
Yeah, I mean, or what about the remember the police academies? They went ridiculous with those.
But I think that was more. I think that was more because they were going off the first one, and was it? I don't even remember what the fourth one. They didn't even have the main character in there anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
they started to lose it.
I think the first two was good, maybe 3 or 4. Yeah, it was. I mean, certain movies just should not be touched and made a sequel of just because the first one is better, you know, or the number one is top. And if you're going to come out with a second one, do some homework, listen to what the fans want, and then put that out on the second one.
Right. Put some effort into it. Don't just slap part 2 onto it and expect everybody to just, love it.
Yeah.
I think people are smarter than they kind of give us credit for sometimes.
Yeah. Did you ever watch any of the Naked Guns?
I did. Yeah. I was a fan of those too.
Those movies.
Even the last one, number 33 and a third. I like that one.
Those movies to me, where it's like, those are the movies that I don't mind that you're going to do a sequel to just because it's going to be some kind of slap comedy. Was it Leslie Nielsen? That was his character?
Leslie Nielsen, yeah.
You knew he was going to be this stupid cop and he was going to act a certain way. And it's funny because that character that he got, he took that from Joe Friday, wasn't it? From Dragnet.
Oh, is that what?
Yeah, he took it from Dragnet and he decided instead of being this cop that's smart, he's just going to be the total opposite and be the dumb cop, And again, that movie is, shout out to OJ for for being in that movie. I mean, it was just one of those movies where you're like, it's going to come out, it's going to be stupid, but it's so funny that you're going to watch every sequel that comes out.
Right. You don't mind it. Kind of National Lampoon. That's another one that,
Which one? Any of them?
Yeah, any of them. I mean, like some are good, some are bad, but that's one that, like, if they come out with another Vacation, even if it's not with Chevy Chase, even though his I think are the best, but they've done some without him. Like, I'm fine with that. it's National Lampoons. Like I don't expect riveting stories from that or anything.
Your keys, Mr. Papa Giorgio. Your keys. That was Vegas Vacation. Was that the Vegas one? Yeah. That to me was, when we talk about best sequels next week, I think that's gonna have to be I like that one better than the first one, just because there was so much involved with it. But this podcast has gone long enough.
Yeah.
And that's why we had to break it down into two different parts, because just imagine if we added the good ones with the bad ones today, we'd be talking for 2 hours. Yeah. But next week we'll talk about I would say the best sequels, or sequels that came out that were actually better than the first, or just good sequels in general. If we missed any today, any bad sequels, drop us a comment, let us know, remind us what we missed. But moving forward, don't forget to follow the Men of Few Words podcast, Woken Up Woke podcast, the daily podcast with me, and then you got us, the Ordinary Joes. I don't know who these guys are right here, but don't follow them because they're just. That would freak me.
Right.
I was expecting. I'm looking at my screen. I'm expecting your hand to come through. I would be like, get out. I don't even know which direction you're at. Get out. So you look like I'm reaching to grab I'm grabbing your head. In this week's Ordinary Joe's podcast, we're doing magic. Here's my hand.
We're just going to end it with a puff of smoke, and then we're just not going to be in our
like here, I'm putting my hand. You should put your hand right where my hand's coming in. All right, guys. Again, thanks for listening to the Ordinary Joe's podcast. We are going to put a podcast out every week. And if you're not listening to any of the podcasts that's up here, definitely, subscribe to their channels. I'll leave links to all our podcasts on our Anchor app. Follow us on Anchor. Give us a like on the Anchor app. And that's it.
Yeah,
that's all I can think of. That's all I got.
It was fun.
It was fun. It was fun. Any of these movies that we can talk about, and I'm loving the theme that we're doing. We did horror movies. We did zombie movies. Now we're doing sequels. These are things that I don't really have to do research for, because I could actually live through some of the bad stuff. And just like this week, next week, there's going to be a lot of good sequels that I can think of that just because they were good sequels. So
and just having this conversation, I've thought of a few more.
Yeah. So moving forward next week, can't wait to do that podcast. But until then, thanks everyone for listening. Appreciate you guys for coming on and jumping on.
That's right.
The Ordinary Joe's podcast.
Peace.
You're listening to the Ordinary Joe's podcast